Hi, welcome to the Double Stuff Podcast. I'm Charity.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Dan.
And today we are going to talk about, drum roll please, group projects, everyone's favorite thing.
We're doing a group project.
I
right?
know,
Yeah.
and this is one of the few successful group projects I've ever been a part of.
Here.
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
just saying that because we're all here.
That's true.
That's
yes.
true. Yeah, wait till the mics turn
Those
off.
guys. Always talking over me.
Yeah, whose idea was this?
But in a group project, I'm sure we all have our stories, but there's all like the different types of people that you find. So what type of people are you in a group project? Are you the one that takes over and does all the work? Are you the one who doesn't reply to any of the text? Are you the one with the big ideas, but we have like a $5 budget? Like what role do you guys play in your group projects?
Can I say all at different times? I think.
Well,
I think
yeah.
I've been
What's
those
your
people all the
most
time. So
common?
when I was younger, it was definitely the just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I don't want to like really be a part of it, like for class projects and stuff like that. But now, whether it's work or something like that, I'm almost just sort of like I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Just give it to me.
Like if you want something done
right, you do it yourself,
Exactly,
sort of
yeah.
thing. Okay, Alan.
Yeah, but I will take it on a little bit of a twist though.
Sure.
Because I consider a group project also teamwork, and so like being a part of a team, like sporting, like football, baseball, whatever. I mean, everybody has a role to play, and it works out or it doesn't, just like with anything else. But yeah, I've been the go along to get it along type of person. I've also been, the point person as far as making sure. I mean, one of my jobs as a producer is to make sure that something happens, that something gets produced. So I like it all. And sometimes you do pull the short end of the stick, and sometimes you get a group or a project or a team that you do not want to be a part of. But the good part about it is as long as you still enjoy what you're doing, you just find a better team. You find a better...
That's not
department.
usually an option, though. Not every time.
Well,
Usually you got to
at
play the
least-
cards you've been
yeah,
dealt.
at least not in a school setting. That's not really.
Well,
an
no, I'm
option.
talking school, work. I mean, you can't just be like, I don't like you. I don't want you on my team. I'm going to get Bob over here. Like, you can't just drop your team and then go find someone else.
Sure you can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure you can.
Alan's in there slipping $1 bills. Like, I'll switch teams if you if you
Just
do
a
this.
$1 bill.
He's in high school. That's like millions.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and sometimes you are you're stuck in something, but at some point you have to say, okay, I've done this enough. I know what the outcome's going to be. I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to do that. But I do still like to be a part of whatever this is, or within this department, this team sport, this church, this organization. So I'm going to switch to something else. Maybe it's some sort of charity or a nonprofit. Well, there's plenty of nonprofits that are out there.
Yeah.
You just got to switch. Now, I understand what you're saying, because that switch is hard to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, now you're starting all over again. But yeah, if you're not happy, you got to switch. There's no reason, or at least I've learned this, and I know not everybody has, but and it's difficult. But there's absolutely no reason to go to bed angry with yourself for not making a decision. I don't know. Did that turn into self-help?
That makes
No,
sense.
you're right. This is just your way of saying this is your last episode, right? You're going to start your own podcast.
I'm gonna find another group.
Bringing it to us gently.
Yeah,
That's right.
Now I gotta figure out how to Photoshop your head out of everything.
That's right. Just try.
I would say
Irreplaceable.
my role for group projects changed even from like elementary through college, because it kind of started off, young Charity didn't know better. I was just like, hey, let's all get together and put on a show. I was the team player. When I realized people would let me down, it got to the point where I was more like Dan for most of my like lower level school career of, let me just do it so that way we can all get a good grade, and I would get frustrated because I'm doing all the work. By the time it got to college, I remember one project my senior year, and at this point I never wanted to go to college. Fun fact about me, I was just like, can we just do this and get this over with? So senior year, spring semester, I got senioritis like real bad. And we're doing these news stories, fake news stories. And our teacher had divided us into groups. And so while he was explaining what we were supposed to do for the project, I'm taking notes like I've already got the game plan. And so as soon as he dismisses us, there was just like 3 guys in my group, and I was like, you over here now. You sit here. We're gonna do this story. You do the camera work. You do the script. You do the editing, and then we'll switch. And then we're going to do these stories. You're going to do this and that. Are there any questions? No? All right, you're free to go. That's
right.
basically what I did.
Like a boss.
Because, I had 2 freshmen, so I know they don't care. But, like, this is my graduation. Like, you're going to do what I say, and I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to like it. And if you don't like it, too bad. You're still going to do it. Like, so I went from cute little charity doing a group project to, like, the CEO of the company
That's right.
sort of thing.
Well, and sometimes that's necessary because you guys have all worked
Mm-hmm.
in the control room before, and you know that like when a director needs something done, it's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
hey, could you get this for me, please?
Yeah.
It's like no, that's his name or her name on
Yeah.
the project. It's like
Yeah.
you need to do this, you need to do this. I
Yep.
need this now.
Yeah, that's actually become, I don't know if pet peeve, maybe that is the word. That has become something that's bugged me because we all are in the same industry. We can identify with that. Yeah.
Well, and what we
The-
do requires a team. We can't
Yeah.
do it
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's true. Yeah. You do have to have the director that'll pull the shot, or that'll, call the shots and all that. What bugs me, because, one of my biggest strengths is being a camera operator. So, which is really cool. One of the compliments I've gotten from many directors is that I'm able to read their minds before they say it. So the best part of a camera operator is to know what the director wants before they call it.
It is true. Me and Sarah have been on
Yeah.
assignments where the director almost didn't talk for most of the time because we knew what he wanted,
Yeah.
and so he barely said anything. And it was just like we were running the show without him talking.
Yeah,
right.
and so, and I guess because you assume that people in the industry would know that, because that doesn't seem foreign because we do this all the time. But some people struggle with that so much, and like I said, this is a really nerdy thing. But typically, when you're a camera operator, you're not supposed to talk. The director does all the talking. The camera operator doesn't say anything unless it's like really big. But some of the camera people I come in contact with, they are so chatty. And they're talking to a director, or they're talking to us, and I enjoy joking around and stuff. But when we actually get down to
It's
business,
timing. You got to know the timing to say it, and when you do say it, it's quick. You don't sit there and have like your full Gettysburg Address on headset.
yeah. I like the fact with us, we are so great at joking around with each other. But when we have to do a project, then we know how to switch and get into
Switch
work
gears.
mode.
Sure.
We can do what we need to do, and it's not like we're not going to say something funny in between. But it's not like we're going to be sitting there just having a conversation like we are now. We know we got to get the job done, do this, and then after that's done,
Then you
we
have
go
fun.
back. Then we go back to doing this.
Yeah.
But some people don't know when. Yeah, like I said, you don't know when to flip that switch, and that's become a big pet peeve over the past, especially 10 years
Well, yeah.
of being in this industry.
Well, and working with people that have the experience to be able to do what it is that we do,
yeah,
and know how to help each other out. One of the things that I have to work on, and I remember this clearly, is especially with interns or younger people that are trying to get into the industry, is reminding myself, okay, what were you like when you were in your early 20s? Okay, try to go back, because if I'm trying to think of you need to be like Sarah, you need to be like Charity, you need to be like Dan, and most people, I mean, it's taken us, for the better part over a decade. Some of us, 15 for me, coming up on over 20 years of working in this. It takes all of that combined experience to be able to make it seem effortless. Thank you.
I like that word there.
Bingo.
but I know what you're saying, but the drive still has to be there. Like,
Yeah.
It takes a while to
Yes.
learn the craft and to learn how to do it effortlessly, but you at least have to try. You can't be the wallflower. You can't be the guy
No.
that doesn't show up
And
to the
you-
meetings.
yes.
Like, you have to at least make an effort, and that's what's lacking in a lot of group projects, no matter if you're in a job setting or in a middle school setting.
Or especially now, people that are a part of a project or something, and they're on their phone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse
All the
me.
time.
Yeah. It doesn't, it's, if you show up, you're supposed to be here in the present. I mean, I've had interns and part-timers that you got to put
the phone down.
How do you not know this? Where did this? And I'm worried especially for my girls coming up, that they don't adopt that either, because it's got to be it's got to be a big red flag for a lot of people. And I've heard this throughout other podcasts and things like that, where you have employers that are looking for employees that aren't on their phones all the time. I can't believe that's
hard to police that, though, because there's so much that you do on your phone.
Yeah.
I mean, most people right now are probably listening to this podcast on their phone.
Good point. While
And-
they're doing their work.
Yeah. Do some work, guys.
On their phones.
But you know, like, you don't necessarily need a laptop or a big camera. You know, you can film movies on your phone. You can do so much on your phone.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
you know, if you were to be like, hey, get off your phone, and you're like, I was answering an email or I was recording, you know,
Yeah.
they could pull that. And so it's hard to figure out, not hard, but it's difficult, I think, to figure out, are you doing something constructive on your phone, or are you actually, you know, not
Well,
listening?
Going back to your camera, like in operating equipment,
Yeah.
do you need to have your phone out and looking at it?
Right.
No. That's
No,
what I guess that's
yeah.
what I'm talking
Right,
about.
right.
Not like sitting at a desk
Right.
or something while you're checking an email, you know, while you're doing
Well, even in
editing
a
or
staff
something
meeting,
like
you probably shouldn't even be on your phone, even though most people are.
that. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That happens.
as much as I want to
Yeah.
be sometimes during our
Sure.
staff
Yeah.
meetings, it's just not cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, with this right now, I mean, you can tell when somebody's like just goofing on their phone. Basically, I'm like, but like if we're talking about something, I'm like, oh, I need to look this up really quick so I have the right information for the
Right.
show. And I reach on my phone, I grab something, I look it up, and I put it away.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like, that's still.
You're still paying attention.
You're
We're
still
just
paying
like,
attention,
what?
you're still
What happened?
participating.
Yeah.
But you can tell that there's a difference between that and then if I was just over here in the corner while you guys are talking, like, okay, I'm going to check
Well,
my Twitter.
Yeah. And well,
See
that
what's
kind of goes
going on.
back to like what you were talking about, Charity, or what you were asking as far as being a part of a group. Like if I trust you to have the knowledge and the experience and the passion and the drive for a project, and you're on your phone, I got no problem with that, because I know when push comes to shove, if something happens, you're going to be there and you're going to roll up your sleeves to do the work, you know, and
Yeah.
the same for anybody. But, you know, being like what you're talking about, when you're assigned a group, or when
Yeah.
something is forming and you don't have that trust with the, you know, the people on your team, then that becomes.
Well, it's like in school, you know, when your
issue.
grade, whether or not you graduate or whether or not you
Yeah.
get a bonus at work, you know, it's dependent upon other people. And so
Yeah.
when your fate, you know, you got bills to pay, you got to
Yeah.
graduate or whatever, it's frustrating when your fate is in someone else's hands and they're they're working as hard as you. They're almost not even trying. And it's like, okay, I need to meet this goal, and so do you. Why don't you understand that? And so I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves with group
Yeah.
projects.
Well, and when I was in school, especially in college, but goodness, in high school, because, oh man, I struggled so much with self-esteem and confidence. I didn't think I could do anything right in that aspect. But what ended up happening was, because I was in those groups of people that didn't really want to do anything, it was almost like I had to self-appoint myself to be in charge.
You had to be your own hero.
Yeah, and it was one of those things when they would assign me, I'm like, I don't want to be in charge of this. I know if I say something, I'm going to be. So sometimes I would just not say nothing. And I'm like, well, and I'm like, that means you're in charge now. You said something.
Yeah.
You know, it became one of those things because I'm like, no one is going to take the charge.
Yeah.
And it used to scare me because I'm like, oh goodness, I'm going to be in charge. What if this fails and then it's going to be all my fault because I'm in charge
That's
of
the other
it?
scary thing, when your name is the one on the list and
Yeah.
it's all on you. They're coming for you. They're not coming for everybody else.
Yeah.
But anything that's successful fails. I mean, okay.
But it takes on a different thing when you're in school, when everything rides on popularity. Like, did you do this right? Oh, that means you win and everyone likes you. And if not, you're no one likes you, and
Including the teachers.
including the teacher. No, it's true. We actually dealt with more teacher situations than students. That's a whole other thing. But it always somehow used to always fall on that other side. The best situation in high school that dealt with like good collaboration, and it's just because I didn't want to do it. So I think it was 7th or 8th grade, dealing with the camping trip in the previous episode. This is around the same time when all that was going on. We were learning about bugs and different species and all that, and we had to do that. I don't know if you guys had to do that. You had to catch bugs and
You
then
stick pins in them and label
I
them.
don't know
No,
if we
we didn't
did.
do
How did you guys get out of that? I hated that
yeah,
project.
that was
We
like
did
that was
that.
like required.
We did that. We did the leaf project where
What is
half the
that?
class picked up poison
Etymology?
ivy.
Is that what it's called? Etymology?
Is that it?
Is that it?
Entomology?
As an ant-tomology. I get it. Yeah, but yeah, so we had to catch bugs and kill them, put them on a pin. You had to identify the genus
I
and
still
species
hate the
or whatever.
smell of nail polish remover because of that project.
That and formaldehyde.
Nail
and,
polish
ugh.
remover reminds me of dead bugs because you had to
Yeah.
put the cotton in the jar, pour the nail polish remover, they stick the bug in there, and then they suffocate and die.
You had to wait for the bug to.
That's terrible.
It is terrible. Teachers made you do that.
Wow.
And then you stick pins in them and label it. And one guy in the previous class,
His bugs didn't die all the way.
well, his praying mantis did not die. The other bugs were dead. So the praying mantis comes back to life, starts eating the other bugs that are dead with the pin still in it. He's walking around.
Yeah, his project
box.
is in display, and the praying mantis was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, buffet."
Yeah, so he comes back in the morning and his bugs are like gone, like headless, legless, like they're just gross.
Got a zombie mantis?
Yeah, so I mean, he got an automatic A, so lucky him. I was hoping my praying mantis would come to life because I needed an A, but
But what happened with me? I don't like bugs living or dead, especially dead. But thankfully, and maybe the teacher did this because they wanted to put the stupid girl with the smart girl. But I was teamed up with another girl named Sarah. She loved catching and collecting bugs. She did this on her own free time because she liked it so much. So I worked out a deal with her. I'm like, I'll tell you what.
you drug deal or a bug deal?
A bug. A
Nice.
bug deal.
Hashtag bug deal.
So I was like, I'll make a deal with you. You catch all the bugs, you kill them, you pin them. I'll do all the research. Because I didn't want to make any contact with that, and so she was cool with that. Probably the very first A I ever got in high school.
There you go.
It's really a good group work
Yeah,
together.
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
negotiating
That one,
well.
that one turned out, like I said, just based on what I remember from high school, that was probably the only A I ever got in science class. Well, maybe one other, but in terms of a group project, that probably was the best one.
Yeah.
But like in college, it was different because talking about being in a situation where so many people didn't want to do anything.
Well,
And-
college is based on your livelihood if you're in your major classes.
Yeah. So you would think, because you want to make a career out of this, you're actually going to want to.
Because that's stuff
Be
for
more
your
serious
video
about it.
reel, that's stuff for your audio
Yeah.
reel.
Yeah.
You know.
But again, I was finding myself being in charge. And like I said, and it's not like, to be honest, I enjoy being in charge. Who doesn't mind
Yeah.
being that? It's just at the time I was like, I didn't want to go through the responsibility of having to check up on people's like, hey, did you get this done? Hey, did you get this done? Can you bring this in next period? I was getting tired of, playing always having to call and all that stuff.
See, I did that in my last senior group project, but I played the role of like the production assistant or whatever. Like each person had to take on a role, and I purposefully did that because the first video project we did was a complete disaster for various reasons. And one of the things that I was trying to tell my teacher, I was like, we're not organized. Like when you do a group project, everyone doesn't have to be on the lighting rig and everyone doesn't have to be doing camera. Like each person does their own thing, and then we come together to make one video.
Yeah.
And so when we did the second project, it went a little bit better, but I at least had stuff organized. I was like, okay, you pick up the equipment, you scout out the locations, you do this, you do that. And so everyone kind of had their role, and we weren't stacked on top of each other trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then have you ever been in situations, what I'm sure it happened, where when they assign you a group, they already assign someone in charge. So on paper, they're the leader. But
But in reality,
that's not the case. I've been in groups like that where they assign someone to be in charge, but you're the one that's doing all the delegating, and you're actually leading, but on paper is someone else. Like I've been in a lot of groups like that.
Yeah.
That's.
But since you talked about a good group project, I'll talk about one of the good ones I have. So this one goes back to little fourth grade charity, and we had to do some sort of artwork, drawing, picture thing. And so I was paired up with little Tommy Smitherton. Well, won't say his name.
Little Tommy.
So little Tommy and Charity were paired together, and I had the biggest crush on Tommy. And it lasted until we moved here.
Well, Tommy's a good-looking guy.
Yeah,
He is.
yeah. Tommy was top notch for fourth grade. So from 4th through 8th grade, I had this biggest crush on Tommy, and so we were paired together. And so he had taken copy paper and taped it like long ways. This was like a 5-foot sheet of paper that he had taped together. And our project was to draw like a sporting event or something. So he wanted to draw a football stadium. So he drew all the players on the field and stuff. And so he drew like the bottom half. And then I just drew like little circles and stuff for all the people in the stands. And so it wasn't really anything, like it was just a stupid, ugly picture. But I had so much fun because I love artwork anyway. So that's just nothing. And so we were talking and laughing and drawing, and I was looking in his cute little brown eyes, and I was just smitten. So that's my good group project story. But that's probably one of the few fun, good group project stories I have besides this podcast here.
I've never been able to be in a group with my crushes.
Did you have any? You only had one, I think.
I had two, one in high school and one in college, and it never worked out.
Tommy 1 and Tommy 2.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're both named Tommy. What are the odds? Yeah. Tom.
Well, what one was Thomas, right? Tommy and
That's
Thomas.
true. Yes.
Thomas Smitherton the third.
Yes, that was in college because he gave his full name. Little Tommy Jr. was in high school. Actually, no, it did happen once because it was in a group, and then the other girl got sick, and they're like, well, I guess Sarah, you have to be with them. And I'm like, oh, darn. I'll have to be there with the good-looking guy. Yeah. So that has nothing to do with the group, but I will say the times I really wanted to be in those groups, I was always disappointed. I'm like, well, I guess it wouldn't have been as good of a project having good-looking Tommy Smitherton right next to me, looking over my shoulder. So, but that's the petty part of group projects.
Another story for another time.
Well, I'm going to take it from. So you guys have been talking in a micro level as far as it being school projects and things like. But if you take it to a macro level, I mean, everything is a group project,
It's
and
true.
everything has everybody has a part to play in any sort of whatever, be it as big as a government or as small as a class project. But I think the important thing is making sure that the projects are productive, and I think that's where my focus is, and I think that's where all of our focus is. Sort of culminate is making sure that whatever it is that we're making, succeeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, like we said at the beginning, our podcast is a prime example.
Yeah, we made it out of nothing.
Yeah.
Off of a conversation.
Literally.
The humble beginnings of the Double Stuff podcast.
But I mean, but it's true. Like when you break it down, the only way this would have worked is if all of us would have come together to use all of our strengths.
Sure.
With Alan working on website related stuff and Dan with the editing and finding all the different podcast apps to send it to, and then both me and Charity are kind of tag teaming doing the graphics and social media and all that stuff. Like it takes all of us to put this thing together, and it's a big deal, and we're actually reaching people not just in Kansas where we live, but outside the U.S. and all that stuff. Yeah, so
thank you, world, for listening to us.
Yeah, but that's a big deal, and I do love that technology has it's become more accessible for the everyday person versus like the execs in Hollywood. It's become available for all of us to do at a pretty affordable level.
Our one listener in Zagreb, Croatia.
Oh, thank you, Croatian listener.
How do you say thank you in Croatian?
Well, we'll get back to that. Croatian listener, if you want to make yourself known, you can tell us how to say thank you in your language.
That's
I
true.
don't have any like group project stories, but it always makes me think of a joke, which is that I want the people that I worked in group projects with to be pallbearers at my funeral. So they can let
you down one last time. I love that joke so much. It's terrible.
Wow, how cynical.
Sorry, I was the last one laughing at that. Yeah, that's sad, Dan. Gosh.
It doesn't apply here.
No, of course not. Of course not. You're all welcome at my funeral.
Please don't trust me to try to lift. I just now started going handheld on the camera.
For me, you just have to light a match. Okay, this is taking
I was going to say this has gone to a horrible level now.
I thought the group project would have ended at, and when we burn Alan's ashes.
That's
right. Well, we will end this episode making an apology to Alan's family since we killed him at the end of the podcast.
Great group project.
Yeah, I would give us let's give us a B+ since this took a very sad turn at the end, guys. So I'll give us a B+ for a group project. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks Thanks for listening to today's episode. You can find other episodes on doublestuffpod.com or on your favorite podcast apps. You can also participate in the fun on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Double Stuff Podcast and on Twitter at Double Stuff P. That's the letter P.